Okay guys, today we're going to put new gears in this old Jeep. This is a 94 YJ and right now it has 410, 411 gears in it, somewhere around there. These are 488s. With the front axle and the rear axle, the front axle being a Dana 30, the rear axle Dana 35. The lowest we could go, or highest numerically, was a 488. So y'all stay tuned through this video and we're going to get these gears in. And if you like this video, hit that like. If you like this channel, subscribe. And if you're looking for great eats, check out our blog, New Recipes Weekly. So y'all stay through this intro. Okay, so you have your gear set, or you're thinking about a gear set, and you're looking at the tools you need. Well, there's a lot of tools you can have that are nice to have, and then there's tool sets that are must to have. A must to have tool would be something like this. We use to hold the yoke. Without this, there's no way to tighten anything up. Or something similar. They have things you can bolt on the yoke or other things, methods of holding that ratio. You're not going to be able to hold it with a screwdriver in the Carrier. It's just not going to work. You're going to break yourself, which I did break myself a little bit. Busted my lip, hurt. Okay, you're going to need a big breaker bar, which I don't have it here anymore because I broke it. So I actually broke this off the breaker bar. But you're going to need that, and you're going to need a good torque wrench. You're going to need something that goes up to about 200 foot-pounds, a little over 200 foot-pounds, because there's a lot of torque on there. Now on the Dana 35, you're going to have to put like 400 or 500 foot-pounds just to crush that crush sleeve. You'll have to need one of these little measuring things for your shims and stuff. You're going to have to, when setting your yoke, you're going to need an inch-pounds wrench. Now, inch-pounds will, you can't use a torque wrench that clicks because you can't click. You're looking for continuous even flow as you spin it around. Here is a dial indicator. This is used for setting your slack in your Carrier or ring gear back and forth. If you don't have between 6 to 10 millimeters of slack, you can damage your ring gear. Bad day. So, and then I have impact sockets, large sockets for the yoke bolt and things like that. It is painful, a lot of hammering, time consuming, but it can be done and we're going to do it. So let's get right into it. So the first thing you want to do, after you get the tires off and you get on jack stands, is pull off your disc brake for your back axles. This will expose your axles right here. We're going to do this on both sides, then we're going to take the rear cover off the ring and pinion housing. So hopefully we can get this all apart. So we're going to take off the pumpkin cover right here, and we had to decompress the suspension to get it down low enough so we don't hit our gas tank. But then we're going to break each one loose, and we're going to loosen them up, and we're going to put an oil pan under here and catch the excess oil. We're going to leave the top one on here so it just doesn't fall in the oil pan. To get to our pumpkin on the rear axle and out of the way of the gas tank, we had to decompress our suspension. So originally we had the jack stands on the axle, but we had to move them to the rear bumper. It's always good to put your kids to work, taking off, doing projects on things. They learn a lot from it. He's going to take out all them bolts and drain the gear oil. We're going to take our gasket scraping tool and we're going to pry loose the pumpkin to start draining the oil. So you take your wedge type tool and you hammer it in here and it will start leaking. There it goes. And we left the top screw in there so this wouldn't fall into the pan. Man, that stuff stinks. Gear oil is really smelly. Okay, so now Brandon's going to take and scrape all the gasket material off. And we want to make sure we have a clean surface that we can put the new gasket on with also the silicone. We're also going to have to clean this pan off. That was a bear to get off. Okay, so you have to clean off all the surfaces. Right now, Brandon is taking care of the pan for the differential, making it all pretty and stuff. You want to paint it pink?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay, we're going to paint the pan pink. We are now taking off the drive shaft. So when you get your drive shaft loose, make sure you tape up the two caps on the end so they don't come out, because there's roller bearings in there and you don't want to lose them. Here's the tape right there, Brandon. Just wrap it with tape. So when you get done wrapping your drive shaft, it'll look something like that. Make sure not to pull the drive shaft on your head. It'll dump gear oil all over you. Okay, so I've already loosened these bolts up all the way around here for our ring gear and differential. And now I'm going to lay them out on this cardboard I have below and pull out our ring gear assembly. You want to make sure you keep these end caps and stuff together so that you can put them back in the same order you took them off.
Ready?
Okay, so now we're going to take out the bolt that holds the carrier, the pinion bearing of the pinion in. So to take out your pinion, you're going to need some persuasion. I usually use a hammer and this pointed chisel thing and knock it out. One frosty pinion gear. One heavily baked bearing, still smoking. And it works. Look at that. So once you get your ring gear out, you want to make sure you put this bolt back in here. This holds your C-clamps in for your axles. Now if you don't, all the little bearings will come out of the spider gears here. It'll be a bad day. This is pretty easy to take off and on, and didn't feel like I should include it because you just take this bar out, push your axles in, the C-clamps fall out, and then you pull it out so you can pull this out. Okay, so if you don't have an impact or something, you want to take these and break these loose while the carrier is still in the Jeep with the pinion in so you can hold something on the pinion or put the drive shaft back in. But I've already broke these loose. I'm going to spin them back a little bit. That one's up. And with your new gear, it should come with something that, some new bolts. So don't worry about these bolts. And then you want to take a hammer and assist this off. And there it goes. And I left the bolts in there so it just didn't fall to the ground. And of course something to hammer on. There we go, gear is off. Now we can put our new gear in. Okay, so with your new ring gear, you slide it on there, like so. This is, we're going from 410, or 411, 410, one of the two, to 488. So this ring gear is going to be thicker, but the reason it's thicker is your pinion is more narrow. And you'll line up your screw holes. I'm going to use the old screws to pull this up. And just put in some screws to hold it in place. Okay, so let's see if this pulls up. Okay, we got the new pinion set. To do this, we, of course, I grinded this off so we could easily slip it off and on because we had a shim here. We put just a few shims in there. Basically, we're just doing marking with tape, with paint on the gear to see our bite pattern. Here, I trimmed the inside of this so we could slide over, so it was easy to get the pinion in and out. This is our old crush sleeve. We use that on the new pinion gear to put that on. Also on this, we use the old nut, and I took and ground the top off so we could easily tighten it and loosen it. Because this thing is oblonged at the end, so never use the new one, always use an old one and cut the top of it off. And these bearings, I guess, are good for if we ever want to do this again with a Dan 35. Okay, so we're not under the Jeep because it's hard to see under there, but to knock out these races here, you're going to have to get you a copper thing and knock them out. So knock out the races, then you get the races back in. I use the copper to knock this large race back in where it goes as far as I could, and then I took and stuck the pinion back in and hammered on the back of the pinion to get in. And of course a helper really helps, and I'm glad I had my son to help me. To get this race in was a little bit more challenging. So I hammered it in around the edge as far as I could. Then I stuck the bearing back in and I put a socket over the top with an extension and I hammered on that. So that got in and all my races are in. Now your shims go in here behind this race for the Dana 35. So if I need to move it out, I'm gonna have to knock that race back out and shim it and then put it back in. So it's gonna be challenging. Okay, so to get this bearing on was pretty easy. We just used the freezer technique with putting the bearing in the oven. Worked really good. To get this bearing on down there on the new one was more of a challenge. We basically put the So the bearing goes like that. So the bearing was here, and we put the yoke on top of it, pulled it down using the old nut that we had grinded off the top, because if you don't grind off the top, you can damage the threads because it's got oblong threads in it. And so it's meant to lock. Don't use the new nut to put on the, or to tighten this down. You'll damage the threads and you'll have to get a new locking nut. So we pulled that down and it pulled it in place nicely. And now we're going to put the ring gear back in and see if we can shim it up. Okay, so we have the front installed and we pulled up the bearing and the race. We have the new gears installed in the back, and now we have to paint the gears and see where our pattern is. We may have to take this all apart, do it all again.
There you go.
Okay, so we've turned this a couple times, and right now we're biting right at the edge of the tooth. We're going a little past halfway down, but the pinion gear is not deep enough at all. So we're going to have to knock out that race on the inside and put a little few spacers to bring it back in. And hopefully that would look better. That's fine because this all has to come apart. I can't move this to adjust. I have to take the whole dang thing apart. This would tear apart the gears in no time. Actually looks pretty good. Let me take a picture of that so I have more light. Okay, so we're setting our slack in our ring, our carrier, and this is with the factory bearings. And so pull it down, up, down. I have the yoke stuck, so we have about 8 millimeters of slack, so that's good. We don't need to make any adjustments here. Okay guys, so I hope this was helpful, and you know, I didn't show things like putting the taking the axles out with the C-clamps. That's pretty easy to take the C-clamps off the axles in the Spider gear, but I'm sorry, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into the Dana 35, and I messed those aspects of it. And plus, you know, I got busted my lips, scratched, bruised my face. It was just a mess. The hard part about this was the crush sleeve. That crush sleeve is a pain, so you're really going to have to yank down on that to get that to work. We have been testing this, the back gears. The front gears are done too. That will be in a later video, and I did get more video footage of that. So you should, that should be pretty good. But we have the steering stabilizer, we replaced that because with bigger tires, you want to replace your steering stabilizer because it causes driving issues, and you don't want that. So that's done. We're putting a new speaker in here. It's going to be really cool. So y'all stay tuned for this channel, and all them videos will be in the future. Also, check out our blog, chrisdoeswhat.com or dinewithdanielle.com. My wife produces great recipes every week, and then I try to write things out there too. You know, I go into more detail like on the boat restore, on wiring and things like that. Things that, you know, in the midst of doing the project, my mind just goes blank, and I struggle to get the right words out for a carrier, the ring holdy thingy, or something like that. So if you like this channel, please subscribe. If you like this video, hit that like button. It's down there, looks like this. And if you're looking for any of the parts we used to do the Dana 35 and this Jeep, it's down below as well. And y'all please take care.